Hi, Paolo. How are you? My turn to be really slow on, what's it? Goodness. Discord. I sent you a message. I'm running a Patreon mini course, or rather, I wish I was running a Patreon mini course, but apparently I'm doing it very, very slowly. I'm going to have to cancel or indefinitely postpone my larger course because clearly I can't keep up with producing that kind of videos. But I was hoping to get feedback from So I'm just filling you in. I'm running this course for my patrons to iron out the details of running online courses because I want to set up my own. I want to set up my own things, my own online course program. So I'm running that through Discord. It's a four week or whatever. It's supposed to be a 4-week class. It's been well over 4 weeks already, and I've only gotten one of the 4 videos out. But I would love to get your feedback as an educator and longtime viewer. So yeah, I've sent you the link, and if you want to join up, no fee to you. I'm just looking for feedback. Perfect. Awesome. no problem. You're the one doing me a favor. That will also help me. Yeah, well, I mean, I gotta offer you something if I'm asking for a favor, right? I hope it's valuable. I really do. As your videos are more enough. Well, I mean, but they're just whatever I feel like painting and whatever. So, you know, there is a lot of overlap, and I think eventually through just public videos, a lot of the same material, a lot of the same, you know, tips and tricks and whatever will eventually come out. And I'm not trying to gatekeep behind a paywall at all ever, but it does, you know, putting in the effort to structure it as an actual course versus just, here's a bunch of things I'm painting and my thoughts on lots of stuff, for people who are trying to develop specific skills, that can be really helpful. And ultimately, you know, everyone needs to earn an income. Self included. Self especially. It's always fun to just watch you paint. Aw, thank you. I really enjoy painting, so glad I can bring other people joy. Okay, I'm just gonna go open up my this, maybe? Okay, I don't really need to tab homicide over here. Where did I go? Here we go. Nope, not that inbox. That inbox, maybe? Where did I send these things? this can be, yep, over here, and there we go. Okay, can I zoom in on, oh my goodness. There. So what's new with you? Are you back to work now? Just trying to think. What's the academic calendar like? Oh boy. Well, that one needs to be a little bit more green. Let's get a little bit more green in there. That just at the edges. Classes are starting next week, but I have been preparing classes as I'm replacing a colleague that is on sabbatical. Cool. Do you get sabbatical sometime, and when? If so, are you tenured? Is that a thing? I get one sabbatical every 7 years. Yes, I'm sorry. I understand the concept of sabbatical. I was asking when yours is coming up, and then I realized that I didn't actually know what your in Canada and the States, and I don't know if this affects you as well, but in Canada and the States, there's a problem in academia of the universities just don't want to pay as much, so they've been increasingly, rather than getting full-time tenured professors, they have sessional professors who I believe do not get sabbatical. Yeah, but I have tenure. Okay, cool. Nice. Good job. Congratulations. That's a relief. Yeah, I was just going to ask, when's your tenure coming up, or when's your sabbatical coming up? And then I was like, oh wait, I don't actually know. It's possible that you're sessional. And then I realized that you're in a completely different country and that possibly the whole system is different there. So I get this again. Okay, so it is exactly the same as ours. So you're all ready for your own classes, but you have extra work because you're filling in for someone. It's not a hassle to prep. That's good. I hope your colleague left you materials as well. Hi, Crystal. Sorry, try to adjust this. Maybe a little bit down. Over. Hello from Nova Scotia. Hello! I'm in Ontario. Hi, Gabber. How are you? Yes, he did. We share a lot of things. He's on the same office complex. I've been working with him for the longest time. Okay, good, cool. Love Ontario. Yeah, I'm in southwestern Ontario, Kitchener-Waterloo. Also, the baby hippo pics and video are really something. Wait, did I miss some baby hippo pics and video? Well, where's this? Where's this? Oh, well, okay, I haven't found the hippo pics, but I did find Gabor's sketch from the Share Your Art thing. Here, let me get out a invitation. Copy. Paste. Okay, I still don't know where these baby hippo pictures are, and I want to see some baby hippos. But yeah, so Crystal, since you're new here, this is I've put in a link to my Discord server because I don't think you're on there. If you want to get some extra background, and I am painting Encrusted Saxifrage, which is an Arctic, like polar circle species, but for the past couple of years I've been doing summer residencies at Porphyry Island in Lake Superior, and that's on the northern shore, like northern edge of Lake Superior, and it's still like these plants are usually much further north, but there's something called the Arctic disjoint, where because of glaciation, at one point some Arctic species were present much further south, and in some areas that have consistently had colder weather, there's some like pockets of Arctic plants and such that are way like 1,000 kilometers away from their usual southern edge of their range. So Porphyry Island is this little volcanic island, and it has a number of Arctic species there. So I am painting this Encrusted Saxifrage from Porphyry Island, and then I'm actually I'm gonna make an edited video out of this with some of the footage from my sketches as well, from when I was there, and do an edited video where I'm talking about including background information in botanical art and the value of representing ecosystems rather than just individual plants. So right now I've still got this white background, but this is actually going to have the whole environment around it. I ping you on Discord with a link about baby, but I'm not sure if these are the ones in okay. Paolo, can you explain this baby hippos thing? I'm so interested and so confused. Also, if the paint behavior on this looks kind of weird, it's because I'm painting on aquaboard, this stuff, which has a clay-based coating on it, so it lifts super easily. And yeah, it's a bit of an interesting thing where I don't know how I feel about it, to be honest. It's working really, it's kind of fun for this. I don't know how much I'm going to use this in future, but yeah. Arctic plants are so cool, never talked about really. Yes, yes, I totally agree. And I kind of want to do an Arctic trip at some point. Like north of the permafrost line where there are no trees. Because, so I do, most of my work recently has been focused on tree bark as ecosystems. And that's fun. I enjoy that, but I think it would also be fun to sort of explore that idea of like really intricate ecosystems somewhere where we tend to not think of being a particularly like busy place ecosystem-wise. Because there are like really fascinating adaptations that happen in sort of extreme environments. I was on Ellesmere Island for 4 months. Ellesmere Island, where's that? Looking it up now. Ellesmere Island. Island in Canada. Yes, that doesn't... Oh! Oh! That's very far north. Yes, okay. Northernmost, third largest island. Okay. Oh, wow, okay. What were you doing on Ellesmere Island? He's cute. The Guardian had an article on it. Okay, I'll check out the baby hippo. Okay, wait. How do I... Like, new tab. Oh, that is cute. Oh my goodness, so cute. Okay, I might have to paint a baby hippo. I was in the military. Oh, okay. What did you do in the military? Yay, mission accomplished. What, me painting a baby hippo? Is that the new goal? I reopened my Etsy shop to populate with, I'm gonna do some print-on-demand stickers. I do have stickers in my regular Shopify shop as well, but I thought it might be fun to test out some like various sticker designs and see what does well without having to order, 50, 100, 200 of each. And so I will have, I've only just started playing with it, but I've been playing with some print-on-demand stuff. I reopened my Etsy shop and I'll just be running that as mostly a print-on-demand thing. Administration and finance, but at that time I was attached to the base and alert for temporary duty. Oh, okay, cool, nice. Well, that's super neat. Yeah. Yeah, there's a few Arctic Circle type. I mean, actually, they're mostly in like Norway and Finland. It would be interesting to see whether there are Arctic. Let's see, Arctic. I'm sure there are places. Artist residency in Canada. It's interesting. I've always had this fascination with the Arctic, but you know, until recently, like I used to be really cold sensitive, so you know, maybe the Arctic wasn't the best place to be fascinated with. And then on top of it, I was vegetarian for most of my life. I am not vegetarian anymore, so I won't starve where plants don't grow, where like garden plants don't grow. And hi Lana. Yeah, I'm fascinated with the flora and the fauna. Yes, indeed. And yeah, and I also, my chronic illness has made me extremely heat sensitive and much better able to handle cold. So I've actually been looking at options for like relocating more long-term to somewhere that's not on the tropical end of Canada. Where the summers aren't so hot. Yeah, okay, so there is Kluane National Park residency. Right. Okay, so that is there. Canadian Wilderness Art Residency, which isn't running. Inuit Art Foundation. Artist exchanges and workshops. Anyway, I'll look into that a little bit more. But what do I think about this art board? I haven't decided yet. It is interesting. I'm enjoying it. I'm not sure. It's working pretty well for what I'm doing right now, where I'm building up these sort of powdery, variegated succulent leaves that are, it's kind of nice to be able to push around the pigment in this context. I feel like for some applications this might really frustrate me. And the thing is, for some reason I had a memory, like I'd only used this board many years ago when I really didn't have much experience, and for some reason I thought that it soaked up pigment, and it's kind of the opposite. So like whatever, at the time I'd done one painting that it got way too dark way too fast, and somehow I wasn't able to lift it back out, or at least that was my impression. is paper glue too? No, so what it is this is different than, so what I paint on regularly is also a board, but it's actually just paper laminated to an aluminum composite panel. So it's like an aluminum sheet. I mean, there's foam in between two aluminum sheets, and then there's paper stuck to the front of that. And that just behaves very much like paper. This is a clay covering on masonite. And the clay isn't very absorbent, so the only thing really holding the paint here is the texture. Amazing clay coated panel. Yeah. They also make something called clay board, which is the same but smooth, and that I found basically impossible to paint on. The best kind of clay. Yes, you know, you get bentonite and glauconite and amazing. Only the best clay. Thanks for joining. Hope to see you again soon. So apparently now I need to paint a baby hippo. I'll make little baby hippo stickers. Baby hippo. So pumped for the baby hippo. Well, I can switch to baby hippo if you want. Or I can do a little bit more of this and do a baby hippo later. Yeah, I'll work on this because I've already got it out, but and because, you know, I titled my live stream and stuff, so probably I should stick to what I said I would do. But okay, or maybe I can just do this over here. Over there. Ugh, it feels really weird to have it on that side. Maybe if I have it on this side, so I'm not crossing over my painting all the time. I need to take that extra flap off that thing. It's driving me crazy. Yeah, it is pretty cute. I was mentioning it earlier, Lana, that I have, just yesterday, I reopened my Etsy store. So I still have my Shopify. I'm not going to close it. I put a lot of effort into that. But I was thinking about stickers and cards, small print order type stuff that I do always print some of my own. And now that I can do fulfillment again, thank you, Destiny, I'm happy to ship out, but there's just a limit to how many things I want to get printed. You know, a budget limit. And so it would be nice to test out and make some things available, like cards and stickers and stuff that, yeah, a merch store, exactly. It feels a little bit weird to put that on the handmade marketplace, that I always felt like, oh yeah, because print on demand doesn't really belong there, but whatever, that is what it is. Like, you know, that is the market on Etsy these days, is all print on demand, so that's where it goes. And then I don't have to worry so much about mixing, like, I feel like if I'm selling originals and then I get one order for a sticker, it's awkward to have it fulfilled separately. So I kind of want to keep the merch store separate. And it will have a wider selection of merch that is mostly print on demand. Yeah, and there's so many freaking, like, tutorials for making AI merch to sell on Etsy. It's just kind of gross. Okay, let me see what happened here. Yeah. So the interesting thing is, even an eraser tends to pick up a lot of the stuff here. It's fascinating. It's fascinating. This is a fascinating surface. Hey, Dan. Yeah, I mean, it kind of sucks to be in a marketplace all drowned out by AI, especially for things like stickers, where it's difficult to compare. But whatever, if it doesn't work and it doesn't sell things, then it doesn't work and it doesn't sell things, right? Like, the worst case scenario is that was an experiment, and it took a few hours of playing with products. But there's a bunch of things that's like, okay, well, I could do like leaf stickers, or there's card ideas that I think are kind of cool, but like they're a little bit out there, and I'm not sure if I'm not sure what the market is. So I figure if I can experiment a little with a merch store, and then if things are doing well, I can then get stock and put it in the regular store. that's my plan. Dan, I was kind of inspired by you saying that you were going to go, like, thinking of going back to Etsy. I'm not back on Etsy in the sense of my main store is on Shopify, and I'm going to keep it there. But I had to shop for more boxes today. Maybe in a year, depends if my sales pick up. I've never had an Etsy store, but I've definitely bought some things there. So I've had two. Not only, so the store I just reopened, I ran for a couple of years, but I actually had a much more successful Etsy store before that when I was in university, in like a side hustle, I guess, sort of way. I was doing all sorts of things, a lot of like upcycled, like origami jewelry and things, just sort of like playing with stuff. Low sales do not justify of paying for a website with e-commerce at the moment. Yes, so if we were just taking, like, my sales do cover the costs of my website, but they don't justify it. Like, it would be cheaper for me to sell the same items through... Would it? Yeah, it would. It would be cheaper for me to sell the same items through Etsy. But I prefer to have it all on my own website. And it is, like, I do really expect that if I can keep up my current rate of growth, that in a few months it really will make sense for me to have that store of my own, but I still kind of want to have a merch store. Anyway, I've had some great success on Etsy. From the start, it was pretty clear that although it bills itself as a handmade marketplace, it has some real disadvantages for handmade makers. Like, you cannot listings that get renewed every time they sell do better. So it works best for stores, or I haven't really looked into the SEO and promotional things on Etsy lately, but I imagine it's still the same, which is your store is pretty strictly defined by the items in it, and you can only search items that are for sale and items that have sold and been renewed and had gotten lots of likes and lots of interactions get pushed up to the top. But that just means that in order to do well on Etsy, you basically need to have items that you can sell and then relist and make the same item over again. So it's not really great for original art and one-offs. Oh, then maybe put a... No. Like, it's not... That's not... You can have it auto restock. That doesn't hurt it at all. You can put a like, there's 100 of them and they'll just keep on selling. But, and that doesn't harm it at all, but it doesn't, it hurts you if once it's sold, then it's gone. Because then that item that has been building traction, that's been like promoted as, oh, this is getting more popular, then it's gone. Then you're starting again from zero with a new item. Which is a little bit different from, you know, SEO on your own website, where you can have things that aren't for sale, right? You can promote your website, your image, your what you do based on paintings that you're not intending to sell, or that you've already sold. And that can still stay there and build your SEO in a, like, well, this is in my portfolio, this is in my blogs, this is in whatever. And so on your own website, you can do that more. I was pleasantly surprised going back to Etsy by two things. The first one is, I did not really expect, I thought when I went back to Etsy, they would have, like, just, you know, expired all of my listings, because it has been years. And they saved the number of days left on all of the listings that I had on my Etsy shop. So I actually had to cancel a bunch of them, because it's like, okay, well, these things, you know, since 2019, I've actually sold them, or I don't really want to be shipping this is my merch store, I don't really want to be shipping original art, even in the cases where I do still have that art somewhere. I don't really want it on the Etsy shop. So I did have to remove a bunch of things. I still have a few cards and stuff that I'm not sure if I'll remove altogether. I might, just to not have to worry about fulfillment from two different places. And then I've also been playing with a couple of different print-on-demand providers, and again, I'll probably end up deciding on one to start. For things like stickers and postcards, I could do both. Oh, yeah, I mean, Ko-fi could also work. I haven't really looked at Ko-fi yet. I know that it's actually like a really nice platform. I used it, ages ago when it was just a tip jar. And it was a very good tip jar, and then things changed and I didn't stay on top of them. But I'm trying to breathe some life into my Patreon, not sure if it's worth my time at the moment. I feel really bad because I've neglected my Patreon for so long. Yeah, like I'd almost move my Patreon to Ko-fi, but like I do have a few people on Patreon who have been really reliable. I saw that Patreon also included a pay annually thing, which is interesting as well. I need to restructure my Patreon, but whatever. There's decisions I need to make about so many things. Oh, I have like 13 paid patrons or something. Like it's pretty small. 14 I think maybe now. But the other thing is I still have in my Patreon tiers, if anybody wants to take advantage. I have one of my higher Patreon tiers has weekly, or not weekly, monthly one-on-one coaching. And it is way, 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 way under what I should be charging for one-on-one coaching. So I need to decide how I'm going to change my Patreon tiers. But I haven't put that thought in. And so now I'm like simultaneously kind of like hoping someone will sign up, because, you know, that would be great. But also like, maybe I should finish this before someone does, because I have gotten a few new patrons recently, just a little bit of turnover. I saw they did an annual thing though, so that would be kind of neat. Oh yeah, it's great value for those patrons. Fantastic. But right now I don't have anyone at that tier, which is a good time to switch it over. So I really should, because I am getting some new patrons, but at lower tiers, which, you know, that's great. I'm trying to improve my social media too. I'm noticing small improvements with Instagram. I am trying to do a little bit more in the like short form video realm. I think that, Instagram has changed to really favoring that. I don't know if I really want to be playing with TikTok too much, although, you know, I've been told that's the future. But I'm also just focusing on, like, I've done well with YouTube. YouTube has served me well when I'm able to keep up with it. And so the next step will be sort of trying to integrate, promote more of my YouTube content back to the other social media and see how that does. But YouTube has served me really well, although I am demonetized right now. I was monetized in the past. I'm just demonetized because I didn't post for like 3 years. Bringing in, apparently you need to meet some criteria for lives. TikTok is the future. Well, I don't know about TikTok specifically, but short form video seems to be the thing. And in terms of like what Instagram's like discovery has shifted in a way that I think a lot of artists have found means their engagement and new subscribers have just crawled right down. I mean, certainly that was the case even when I was posting regularly. At this point, it could just be that I'm just not posting enough to be really gaining any traction. But I mean, I'm trying to focus primarily on like create artwork and get exhibitions, get grants, get whatever, because honestly, I didn't get into this for the great joy of the social media hamster wheel. But in as much as you need a funnel, right? Like, I don't have enough of an audience to support my life. I need to find more of an audience. There is a question of how to do that. I find YouTube super weird lately. Like, sometimes videos do well, but others they don't. I have been getting somewhere with YouTube. There's still some mysteries, but I think I'm gradually figuring out like what works and what doesn't. But not only what works and what doesn't, but also like what I want to work and what I don't want to work. Where there's something to be said for consistency in anything, where it's like, if you do something different, it's not gonna do as well. But if that's something different is what you want to be doing long term, like, it's better to just, take that short term hit. At least that's what I'm telling myself. Having a physical presence at a gallery will help me a little. Yes. The local art world is probably, like, it depends a little bit on the city, but it's smaller than you think. It doesn't actually take much to become, a known artist in your city, provided your city isn't like New York. Where like everyone in the local art world in my city knows who I am. And it really does not take that much. Trying to get some like dark tones here. Let's see. Can I get, like that? We have like 200,000 people living here. Yeah, so I'm in a town of like 500,000. I mean, it's two cities, but they're stuck together. 500,000 people, and it's honestly, it's not that difficult to get to where, like, yeah, you're one of the artists. You just have to get involved in, like, you go to you're doing that one community gallery thing, then from there you'll get invited to participate in some project, you enter something, like, it only takes a year or two of, like, you do a few things here and there, and there's, in terms of, like, locally active artists, there's a couple dozen that you can usually name. And it's not difficult. It's not a difficult club to join, really. Now, the value of that is, it depends a little bit what you want to do. Somewhat limited, but it does help then to get, like within a year or two of your like, making a name for yourself locally, not just like on the internet and you happen to live in a place, but that you are involved in that art community. That is the way to get local shows, and a lot of them are, easier than you think they might be. And I'm still working on the second part, but, from local shows to then, oh, okay, well, I did a local show at a couple of different cafes that asked me to put up work. So I did that. And then from there, I got the local community arts group had me do a show at a library, and then I did a solo show at like a community center thing, and then I did a solo show at an actual like art center, and I'm hoping that from there it becomes a lot easier to be like, okay, well, I did a couple of juried shows here and there around the country, around the world, plus I've got this now substantial local presence, that it then becomes a lot easier to take that local presence further. Anyway, that's been my experience, is that like the world is smaller than we tend to think it is. This is a, like, are you paying for the spot? This is like a co-op thing? It's a forum, so I pay to rent a panel. It's pretty affordable. Yeah, so we've had a few of those things locally. I have some friends who started out in these co-op gallery type things and found them valuable. I haven't done that personally. I would just be cautious. Yeah, just, there's a gray area because in general, like, I think it's not a great idea to pay to display your work. Right, like, if anything, you should be paid for displaying your work. Now, if somebody sells your work, that's something else. But because it's like, well, this is artists, you know, arranging amongst themselves and creating this. Some of these things clearly do have some really good intentions, and so they can work, but it's just like if you're just, yeah. It's just to make sure that it's like, you also want to make sure that it's not just an ego boost for the people participating, right? Like that it's actually, there's actually some, it's in a location that gets traffic, that the quality of the work is consistent. Like not just your work, but the other people participating. Yeah, no, like, I think it's definitely worth a shot, and again, like, I have a lot of friends, studio mates and stuff, who started out that way, and who thought it was very valuable, even just as a way of connecting with other artists, you know, whether or not it led to sales, and I think, I mean, most of the, like, I guess more successful... I don't, well, again, it just depends on, yeah, what different people's businesses work very differently. I think most of the people I know who started out with things like the Uptown Gallery here and stuff, eventually moved away from it, but I think a lot of them would describe it more as like they graduated from that than, you know, it was a bad experience. It's just there's definitely like two kinds, right? Like there's also rental galleries where it's like, oh yeah, you pay to display a piece, where it's like it doesn't really get traffic, and because the gallery is charging for the pieces to be displayed, it's like, well, the quality of the pieces is really all over the place. Some of them are great, but some of them are really terrible. Which again, then, you know, because there's that quality issue, not only is your piece shown alongside something that's dragging it down, but also people visit once and they're like, some of this is trash, and they don't come back. Yep, absolutely. At that price, I'm happy to give it a try for 6 months. Yeah. And use it to add it to your CV. Use it to springboard to another one. Yes, absolutely. You'll get to meet other artists. You'll get, a probably like access to discussions about opportunities that are coming up. Opportunities for collaboration, for festivals, for stuff. So on one panel I can fit 4 pieces of framed art, so not too bad. Yeah, that's pretty good. That is pretty good. We've had I think 3 or so different things, no, 4, that run on a similar model in this general area. So one of them was a co-op gallery where the gallery got free rent from a local mall, right in the uptown core. So we have 2 cities that are stuck together. So we have a downtown and an uptown, which is basically Kitchener has a downtown and Waterloo has an uptown, and the reason they're different is just to, when you say you went uptown, it means you went to Waterloo, not Kitchener, right? It's still a downtown. It's just, yeah. So there was the Uptown Gallery, and right in the Waterloo, Central Square, there's this mall, that it was interesting. It's this small mall that doesn't have, the city was in transition. There was a transit system being built, but it was it wasn't super busy in that commercial area for a while. To display hundreds, but at the prices I'm paying, it's worth it to experiment. Yes, and also, there are things like art fairs that do charge money because they're a big commercial event, and that it's absolutely worth it to participate in, provided you're in the right market. And then, yeah, it's hundreds or thousands to do this weekend thing. And it's not, I haven't done a huge amount of it, but it's a thing. I'm not criticizing. I'm just, I guess just musing, trying to figure out where I stand on. Oh my goodness, okay, now this is kind of a mess. I'm just going to leave it there for a moment and come back to it. Okay. There's no clear-cut way to make it as an artist. No, absolutely not. Which, I guess at some level, that's just business. Or at least, business that isn't, if you're a laundromat, there's sort of a formula, but... when you're starting your own business in a new field, You kind of have to chart your own path. So tired. Yeah. And I definitely also have it is so tempting to get pulled into all kinds of like instant things where, you know, oh, I'm just going to do this thing and I'm just going to participate in this little event and this and that, and you get pulled in a million different directions. And I'm definitely doing that a little bit again. Just trying to find the balance of, I'm trying to build up a longer term career, and you know, there are things that I want to focus on and there are things that I don't want to focus on, where nothing against people whose business is all being a merch shop, but it does not interest me. I would rather, if I can, do more developed illustrations, work on infographics for like National Geographic or something. If I could just choose exactly what I'm doing, and we can't always choose exactly what we're going to do, but there's some degree of like, well, how much time am I going to waste designing stickers and fulfilling them versus sending things out. Hi, Edie. Hi, all from gorgeous New York City. Hi. Welcome. Big city. And we've got a wide geographic range today. We've got UK and Germany, and is Paula still here? We might still have Portugal. I'm in Kitchener-Waterloo in Ontario, Canada. I'm finding it doesn't matter what I try, my path is just carving itself. It's not necessarily the one I planned. Well, to some degree, I think that's always true, and a good thing. But I'm also very aware that I kind of like just let myself be dragged around and let my path carve itself in the past, and that can be a problem, or it was a problem for me, because I didn't have the energy to keep up what I was doing. much less keep up what I was doing and, you know, do the things that I wanted to do. So, you know, at some level it's like, well, my priorities have shifted a little too because I'm working with chronic illness, where at some level it's like, well, you know what, there's like what my dream art career is, and that's cool, but also there's a more pressing concern, I guess, of Skilled Girl, coming out very realistically. Thank you. What was I saying? Where at some level I would be more than happy to just go back to having a day job, but I'm not able to do that right now. Or rather, my priority right now is being able to bring in an income, you know, by whatever means. And because of chronic illness, the flexibility of being self-employed is the priority. So exactly what that looks like has become less important than, you know, the fulfillment of doing exactly what I want to do within illustration. But in as much as I do have a choice, I would rather focus on you know, on larger projects, develop things more. Rather than hustle to sell merch. I got invited to do a solo one all the way back in April, then managed to... It feels natural. Well, I mean, as long as you're happy with it, that's great, right? It would just suck if you thought, no, you know, paint making is really what I enjoy most, and now I don't have time to do it because I'm doing these other things. I'm not suggesting that is the case, but I've gotten into that situation where I just didn't have time to be doing I mean, in 2018, when I was doing the daily leaf, I thought, oh, okay, well, that's great. I'm just going to do one little daily thing, and then I'll be all set, and then I'll just work on larger projects. And the answer was, no, not so much. I'll just do the daily leaf, and then I'll sell merch and the occasional small commission, but that I was just not able to sustain the attention to then work on the more developed things that I wanted to work on. Just didn't have the energy. starting to be known as Dan the artist rather than the paint maker. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh shoot, I didn't call the pharmacy. What time is it? Kinda late. Yeah, I'll call them tomorrow. Not that important. I don't want to stop painting. I mean, that would definitely be the case for me. Mind you, I never really got into paint making in the same way as you, but I did experiment with it, and I never sold paint because I think I realized before I ever got to selling paint that the packaging on paint was kind of my worst nightmare. Like just that side of it was just yeah, pass. I mean, it seems like it's reliable to an extent. Or maybe that it was? I feel like there's, now that there's a little bit more stuff out in the world about the process of paint making, it's, maybe less of a captive market just because there's a lot more paint makers and there's a lot more knowledge about like, oh, this is where you get pigment and this is where you but yeah, back in the day I remember feeling like, oh, like it's so cool that people are making their own paint. Let me try all the different paints. And like, I don't know to what degree, it's just I've moved past that. I love your paint. I've got some in this palette. and I would happily buy some more paint from you, but also at the same time, it's like I've, in general, lost interest in, let me buy all the paints, let me collect paints from different makers, let me try making paint. And I don't know if that's me or if it's the market as a whole, and I suspect that there's a little bit of both. I should clarify in case it sounded like I thought it was a chore. Well, I mean, I find the, like, getting to know a new pigment thing kind of exciting, and I can even find like a little bit of mulling calming, but the packaging, oh my goodness. I feel like there's an oversaturation on the market. Oh yeah, absolutely. I can't remember the last time I got watercolors that I didn't actually need. Well, right, but I think that you might be in the same sort of boat as me, where you started painting at some point in the 2010s, 2016, 2017, somewhere in there. And there's an initial excitement of like, oh, let me try all the materials. Bye, Paulo. There are many that makes paints now themselves, which I feel takes away from the specialty of handmade paints. They don't know what their paints are doing. Yes. Yeah. I do have that feeling about some handmade paints. There's also just this huge explosion of like mica paints. Which, I mean, I don't, you know, having a little bit of glitter here and there, not really my thing, but I can understand. However, it just seems like there's a little much going on in this market. I'm also noticing a lot of mica paints becoming a thing, which is taking away from the artist style paints, yes. Beginners buy them because sparkly. I don't need a sparkle rainbow. Well, so, right, that's the thing. And there's like, if you go on Etsy, right alongside the like, oh my goodness, all the print on demand, there's also just a sea of like, would you like my entire set of 250 sparkle paints with no pigment information? Like, oh goodness, well, I guess maybe somebody wants that, but no, thank you. So yeah, like, and I mean, I got drawn into, the other thing is like on YouTube, content creation, like you're right in the middle of like, oh, you know, when all the new things are coming out and you get all this excitement, and then the videos that do best up front, like I find that they don't necessarily hold that performance for very long, but the videos that do best up front are like, oh yeah, I'm reviewing this brand new palette that's not available. You know, I'm the first one to review it, which is a thing. But but then you just end up with like a million palettes. So like again, I think some of that might just be me, the like what I've done with my life, my career. Hopefully see you on stream next week. Yes, I'll try to do a baby hippo thing at some point. It might end up being like an early morning tomorrow stream for you, because I'm thinking that might be my late night plans, is get high and paint a hippo. Last watercolors I got were replacements and were actually needed. The last watercolors I got, I mean, I got some samples like a year ago, and eventually I'm going to have to replace some of my paints. Oh, I mean, I guess I did get the Wild Curiosity palette. Like, I got 50 of them to sell, but 2 of them I kept for myself. So I guess that's the last paint I bought about 6 months ago. I do have a pile of dot cards that I've not even been like super into the dot card thing recently. I've been considering getting, Jackson's has an A Gallo dot card. It is ferociously expensive, but it's a dot card from A Gallo, which is, you know, I'm not going to buy paints from them. They're too expensive, and like at this point I'm pretty sure like there's no magic that any company can do that's, you know, gonna... Oh my goodness, what have I done here? A mess, that's what I've done there. I also have somewhere a dot card from Beam Paints, which is that it's an indigenous Canadian one that's been floating around all over, and I have such mixed feelings. Like, I want to love them, but I haven't even tried the dot card, and I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna love them. Because, here, let's see, do I have the dot card handy? I might. I didn't actually buy it. It was a stocking gift. Somewhere in here? I got this in my Christmas stocking. And I'm glad that I got it, but I don't love how opaque these things look just on the dot card. They don't have pigment information on here. Now I did check and you can find pigment information. It's just not listed on their palettes or their packaging. I've tried Greenleaf and Blueberry and I am not impressed. You're not missing much. Greenleaf and Blueberry is underbound, undermulled, doesn't have any kind of, like there's no movement to that paint. They haven't put, like, you don't need to use Oxgall in all pigments. I don't know what they've done to their pigments to be that immobile. But it's, okay, right now I'm painting on a surface that allows a lot of lifting. Agallo paints, you put them down and they, or not Agallo, sorry, Greenleaf and Blueberry, you put the paints down and they just sort of sit there. Like, they're a clumpy, there's no flow to the paints, and then if you try to put another layer on top, the first layer just moves. And if you brush your hand over it afterwards, they lift off the paper. I love Ame's paints. I would definitely restock some of those if she goes back to paint making ever. I will happily buy some paints from her. And Dan, if you, I mean, I know that you're still making paint, but that, whatever, I will restock the paints I have from you if, when I get to needing it, they're still available. But yeah, my level of interest in trying new paints has just, it's gone way down. And some of it, I'm sure, is just, yeah, like the market has changed where there's just, it's much more saturated now than it was years ago. Where, like, I remember at the time I got Greenleaf and Blueberry paints, but it was like, you know, they had their shop launches and they'd sell out within minutes. And so, you know, I was sitting there waiting for the shop to open, and I didn't really have time to think through exactly what I was purchasing because it's the shop launch, and if I don't buy it right now, it's not going to be available because I tried this a couple of times before. And I don't think that there's really any of that anymore. But certainly at the time it was like getting handmade paints. That's what it was. I think Ev had started making paints and maybe you'd done like your very first batch. But they were the, like, you know, the only handmade paint maker that was making whole palettes. They're so fun and weird. They are so fun and weird. Making the prediction that 2025 will probably be my last year of selling. Well, I mean, I will have to find some way to get my hands on manganese blue from somebody. Oh, that's interesting. Somewhere in my hoarding, I got myself manganese blue pigment, and then I stored it somewhere for safekeeping, and for the life of me, I actually now can't remember where I've hidden my manganese blue. Pretty sure I still have it. That's fascinating. I imagine because it's like there's the people who know it and love it, but that the interest in any of these discontinued pigments, eventually it becomes a curiosity rather than a I need to refill my palette, right? Like, nobody's out there searching for Cinnabar because they absolutely need it for their palette. Or orpiment, or whatever, any of the other, like, super toxic things. Also, within a day or two of going up, I made pretty big batches, but now it will stay up for a while. Yeah, so I guess the market probably has just changed. It's just always hard to tell how much is the market changing and how much is, you know, us changing. Us, our little circle. But I imagine that they are related. I also think those that used it, who used it and really wanted it, have already got it from me, and they probably have it more as a collector piece. I don't have it as a collector piece. I don't collect things. I mean, I don't collect paint. I, like, occasionally I'll get the urge to hoard, but I actually try really hard to resist that urge, and I think I'm actually pretty good at resisting that urge. I'm not hoarding. I do have your manganese blue. I don't use it all the time, which is why I still have it. I got, I think, 2 full pans from you. 2 full pans from you, which, by the way, I think you just sent me, because I was going to order them. I was going to pay you for, and you just sent them to me. Along with a bunch of other things that I did pay for, but I don't think I ever paid for them. So I have those, and I also have some PB17, which I use in a similar sort of, like, there are times when I want a true cyan, and there are no true cyan pigments. Oh, I have paint that I've collected. Like, it's not that. I just try to, I mean, I think I've gotten a lot better about resisting that urge, but in the past, I stocked up on P049, which I still have a ton of. I stocked up on Thio Indigo Violet, PR88. I stocked up on Manganese Blue. I'm not stocking up on P048, although, sure, the temptation's there. I used to really love that paint. But I think more so with the not hoarding, I use the paints I have. I don't have paints just sitting in a tube to be a collector's item to look at. Hi, Stephen. I have some old Winsor Newton colors which I've collected. One color is super rare. I also have a Sennelier color, which is a collector piece. So I don't think I have any, like, true collector paints. Yeah, I don't think anyone's actually, like, collecting. I mean, I have some really old Winsor Newtons, for sure. And I have some old, like, Grumbacher and what have you. But I use them, and I don't think that any of them are the true collector's items. Now, I do have at least 2, maybe 3 still unopened tubes of Daniel Smith quinacridone gold, which I'm sure there is a market on eBay if I wanted to cash out. But I just use them. Like, I have them in a palette that I use. Here we go. Here's some mix involving some of the lovely, lovely manganese blue that I do still use. Do still use this stuff. I have nearly 2 15 ml tubes of P049. Might pay off my mortgage. I also have some P048. Yes, I do have, you're right, so I have some P049 that, yeah, I could, I guess. Are they still good though, or have they hardened in the tube? They should still be good, they're sealed. Stored upside down, should be fine. I mean, honestly, even if they were completely hard, you can just cut open the tube. But yes, even the open ones, like I squeezed out one of the open ones recently. It was flowing just fine. I do also have some P049 pigment. And actually the P049 pigment, I have, somebody sent me this. Might have been Elijah? But I have the pigment dispersion from Gara. I didn't really like it. So I have pigment dispersion that is available. I think I have 2 squeeze tubes of it. So I have that. I also have PG10 in pigment form. Anyway, the stuff that I enjoy using, I will use, and the stuff that I don't enjoy using, I'm not really collecting, because I'll happily get rid of it. I'm not holding on to it to resell or to look at. I'm holding on to it because I'm too lazy to figure out how to get it to someone who would enjoy it more. And I will eventually just sell it. Regardless of its value, because I don't need things that I don't use. I do not feel like decorating my house with collector's paints. There's already enough usable paints everywhere. It is. It's quite different. It's deeper. I mean, I think Daniel Smith used to have a quinacridone gold deep, also PO49. Like, then when they discontinued that, they replaced it with a quinacridone gold deep that was a mix. But I think somebody in one of the botanical art groups showed like a really, really old tube of PO49 quinacridone gold deep that was just single pigment or whatever. And in as much as you can trust Daniel Smith, it said it was single pigment PO49, and I think that was the same shade as... Bye, Edie. Yeah, I mean, I guess if it's enough, I might just sell it. Like, I do use mine, and I would, you know, I bought it in order to keep using, not for the sake of hoarding collector's items, but I suppose if there's enough dollars in it, you know, everyone's for sale. But yeah, I mean, I do also have a mortgage, so... And an assistant to pay. Hey, if I can pay off an assistant's payroll with a tube of paint. Found a $275? Okay, never mind. I am going to go sell some PO49 on eBay. Jesus. What the what? Okay, I have like 2 or 3 tubes, so I guess I'm selling them because that's a lot of money and I don't want them that badly. Yikes. Okay, well then. That's some serious hoarding. Like, are these people using it? I know people who still are using it. Like, I still use mine, but man, I will stop using it for that much money. Okay, well, I mean, I do have 2 unopened tubes at least. I might be 3. So, hey. Maybe I will just sell them. Yikes, that is wild. Okay, well then. Maybe I'll open an eBay shop. Wow. Oh, there's lots of colors that are the same. It's easy to make the same mass tone. It is not easy to make the same color that has the same transparency. Like, you can also just mix PY150 with like any earth tone, or for that matter, mix PY129 with any earth tone. If you do the PY150 thing, when you dilute it, because it's so strong, it tends to overpower whatever it's with. So I actually find that PY129 works better, but that's the issue, is the hues tend to shift very yellow in they tend to shift very yellow in tints, or they have a granulation or opacity, so you can't use it in glazes the same way. I have only very rarely found, oh, you know, like where I'm painting something, I'm like, what, you know what I really need right now? I need PO49. It has happened, but like, you know, twice in my painting career. And you know what? There is a dollar amount at which I will get over it and paint with something else, because nothing is quite that important. But I do understand the hype. I just don't, you know, I don't think that anything is unless somebody is discontinuing PY150, I can deal with whatever changes in the pigment market without any major complaints. Had a tube of the sap green made with PO49, 197. Jeez. Okay, so when I was in Australia, I went into an art shop in Melbourne looking for art spectrum paints. But, you know, whenever I go into an art shop, I do look at the paint racks to see, hey, is there anything fun and discontinued in here? And they had like 10 of the sap greens. And literally the only reason why I didn't buy all 10 at a random art shop in Melbourne was that I had to fly back to Canada carry on only the next day. And I was like, they're not going to want me to board with all of this gel. But yeah, they were like, I mean, keep in mind, like, Australian dollars, and I think they were like 22. So, like, 15 American dollars. Yes, Ember. Are you funny? That's a funny girl. Okay, well, maybe I am selling some collector's paints on eBay. Oh my goodness, that is wild. Because at one point they were like 50. Yeah, okay, well, all right. I mean, like, there's a profit there, but... Yeah, I mean, could have just packed them in a... Could have just, you know, put them in a mailer and mailed them to myself. And then sat on them for 5 years and sold them for what now? Holy. Hi, silly. Oh, really? You're very loud, you know. Yes, loud. What do I do with louds? Really? Anything else, Ember? Oh. That's very loud. You want to go outside? I know, but you want to go for walkies, and I'm not ready to go for walkies just yet. So, go talk to Daddy. I think Denise switched. Denise ran out. Denise had stocked up on PO49 for the purposes of sap green and found a different sap green mix that she is almost as happy with that she now uses. Okay, I also have tubes of manganese blue from Old Holland. Hold on, let's have an eBay dive. I get for 50 pounds. Yes, so I think for manganese, because there's now a couple of people manufacturing it, but the world hasn't quite caught on yet. So the first time I found, like, I'm a little bit alarmed now, actually, because I'm pretty sure I have genuine manganese in a jar somewhere that I ordered when I first found, oh wait, there's a new source of manganese, for, yeah, like 50 pounds, because I wasn't sure how long that was gonna last. And I didn't get into manganese blue until after manganese blue was discontinued. At which point it was like PB17 and manganese I tried around the same time, only a few years ago. But there is no true cyan in current production. So I use manganese blue. I wish I knew who was... I thought you did know. I thought that was... okay. I might be going crazy, because I'm sure I got myself manganese blue, and now I'm looking around my studio like, where is that manganese blue? Where's that jar? Because I'm pretty sure I had it in a bag, and I put it, jarred it right away, like, okay, well, this stuff's toxic, let's take care of it, which of course is exactly what I do when I then lose track of it and end up, tripping over the thing, dropping it down the stairs, and it explodes everywhere, which we don't want. But I thought you were the one who I spoke to. They're like, oh, no. There is, you know, there's a new source. Yes, there's a guy selling it on eBay. Also, Canelison still, someone is making the pigment. Okay, but you don't know, like, I thought you had actually met the eBay guy or something. How does core cobalt teal PB50 compare to actual cyan hue? It is greener and less dark valued. So in fact, this is the this is not Core's cobalt teal, but I have Roman Schmalz Ocean Blue, which is very similar to Core's cobalt teal. In this palette, let me see. Okay, so I believe I've got, here's 3 teal options. So, sorry. This is Phthalo Turquoise, PB16. In fact, I can go get a different palette and do a little bit more in depth, but this is PB16. Let's see. Find a working writing implement. PB16. Sorry. This is Roman Schmalz Ocean Blue, which is PB28, which is very, very similar to Core's Cobalt Teal PG50, I believe. So that looks like this. And then let's just keep on going with this. Here's your classic, what people use as their cyan. This is PB 15-3. And this is manganese blue. So this is Dan's manganese blue in here. PB33, and the last thing I wanted to test here was the last thing. What's the last thing? What's the last thing? What's the last thing? Oh, where did I hide it? Next question. Where did I hide the thing? Not here. It's kind of a huge palette. Where did it go? Okay, I need my giant palette, and I've put it somewhere, and somehow I've misplaced the most giant palette. misplaced the giant. Oh, here it is. Okay. All right, and then from my most giant palette of giant palettes, here we go. This one is, where'd it go? Here. This is PB17, which is another discontinued alternative for a cyan. In fact, I kind of like this one better because it is non-granulating. So as a primary, I find it somewhat more useful. But there we go. Yeah, if somebody can get their hands... PB17 is still in production. It's just difficult to come by. So if somebody wants to make me PB17 paint, I will pay money for it. Not like... Not, cash? Not collectors. Not, you know, $275 a tube, but it's a valuable thing for me. Yes, I have it in gouache. I have, this one is Holbein's old Iridori line. They have a new Iridori line. I know, confusing. It's the old Iridori line Peacock Blue. And it is also available, I know, Ember. It's also available in gouache, and then it sometimes pops up in like Paul Rubens pans. I think I got one tube from Rockwell. But the Rockwell paint is weird. I don't love it. Yeah, if you can get your hands on the pigment, I mean, first of all, if you can get your hands on the pigment, I would be happy to just stock up on the pigment. I don't really make paint, but you know, if it's like, okay, well, this is a paint that I'll make like once every few years when I need it, absolutely. And yeah, if you go and make me the paint, save me the trouble, like, all the more so, and I will absolutely pay, you know, the cost of pigment plus mulling. Yeah. So that's the differences. I mean, I'm generally pretty happy to just use one of these two. And this has a completely different behavior, completely different, I mean, place in my palette, but it's there. PY153 Dirty Blue, found some but don't know where. You could talk to Elijah. Because I'm pretty sure he makes it. I mean, I don't know. This might be into the realm of like confidential sources, but I think Elijah would probably tell you. I don't know where to get. I don't know who's holding on to the world's stock of PY153. I have like an assortment of different brands of PY153, some of them probably still in complete tubes. I've moved on, but I mean, I still use it. Again, like I don't keep paint if I don't use it, so. Not sure if he still makes paint. He seems to not make paint as regularly. Like, he's in school and busy. His store's still up. Be too nervous to ask. The only thing I'm basing this on is a conversation I had with Elijah. I think I sent him some pigment at some point. Because I'd gotten some Gara pigment that, I mean, I still have it. If you want my PG10, you're also welcome to it. I will happily pop it in a box for you with some stickers and send it on its way. Yes, I have Lucas Winsor Newton, 2 different kinds of Winsor Newton actually. I think I probably have a Jackson's, although, and then I also have other things that were like labeled as PY153 from the store, but actually aren't, or vice versa. Plus I have like a pan from Elijah, a pan from someone, a pan from like, I've got PY153 sort of scattered. No, I had a conversation with Elijah about one of the local paint companies. Stoneground, I think. So Elijah went to a demo at Gwartzman's held by another paint maker and then got blocked on social media and was having a laugh about like, oh, trade secrets in paint making. Oh my goodness, I think I stepped on some toes by daring to go to a public event as a paint maker. And has always been pretty open about whatever. I mean, I don't know, it is a little bit in the realm of like, well, there's nothing really setting, like, once you know how watercolor paints are made, and where the pigment sources are, like, what are the differences between different paint makers? I mean, there's differences in like the exact consistency of the paint, and then there's people like Ame who just do some wild mixes and make magic paints that smell like cloves, but or like, I'm kind of thrilled that you took my maple syrup suggestion. I will happily take credit for that one. I got flamed for suggesting that originally. Not by you, but I think I was trying to pitch it to Ev and Elijah. Hey, we're Canadian. Make extra Canadian paints, you know? You got Da Vinci out there making paints with corn syrup. Why not maple syrup? And I got flamed for it. So, I'm glad that somebody took that idea. Are you too precious with it? And I have ultramarine, very small amount though. Okay, well, I mean, be as precious as you want because I don't, okay, here's what I have. I have 4 jars. 1, 2, 3, 4. This one has like a tiny bit out of it of Nickel Lazo Dark because at one point I thought it would be fun to, I don't know, I had high hopes for this pigment. It is not what I hoped it would be, and also I don't feel like mulling it. It is a pain in the butt to mull, and I don't have that kind of arm strength. But whatever, I'm not I am not, again, I'm not interested in hoarding things, so if somebody else wants it. Hi, Lana. Honey is way better, but I like to keep the paints vegan. Yes, I think that was the context, was how to make paints vegan. And, Da Vinci is out there making paints with corn syrup, so I can't imagine that maple syrup is any different. Hi Kelly, how are you doing? I'm happy to use honey, like I'm not vegan, but Beam Paints uses maple syrup too, right? I don't know, do they? Let me look that up. That's interesting. Beam Paints is definitely a indigenous-owned Canadian company. That is true, and part of why I would really desperately love to like them. My first glance at their paints, I have a sample that I should just try, but it's one of these things where it's like, oh, I don't like plastic free. Well, they say tree sap. No, I don't know if tree sap means maple syrup or gum arabic, because technically both of those are tree sap. Maple syrup, let's see. They have their sugar maple palettes, which are made with they have a family sugar bush, so yes, their family produces maple syrup, so that is possible. I'm yet to find something that says they actually use maple syrup in their paints. I think Ame uses a corn syrup mix. Her early ones were super liquid. Yes, her early ones. Lucas used dextrose, I believe. Well, yeah, I mean, Lucas uses dextrose. Da Vinci uses corn syrup, like simple syrup. Manitou maple sap. Okay. All right. Okay. Perfect. Well then. Then yes, they use maple syrup. Okay, I like them slightly better. The thing is, like, I desperately want to love Beam Paints, and I have a dot card from them that I've been kind of hoarding, because honestly, it's just like, I should like put it down, make a video about it, but I'm like painfully, like autistically honest about what I think about paints. I really want to love them. I love their business model. I look at their paints and they're just, they do actually have They didn't used to, but they do actually have pigment information now. You just kind of have to go digging into them, into their shop to find it, like into their website, because it's not on any of the packaging, but fine, whatever, that's just, you know, I'm a pigment nerd. As long as the pigment information is available somewhere, that's fine. You know, if their average customer doesn't need it, doesn't want it, then whatever. Yes, I love the little turtle pans, and honestly, like, I love the concept of these plastic-free things, but I look at their paints and they're just so opaque looking that I have some questions. I mean, like, I assume that they have some kind of something in them to make them more opaque, which, not my favorite. They have gotten better, I think, around the time they started adding pigment information. So, like, they do seem less opaque now than when I first saw them. So it could be that something. Yeah, I think they probably used, I mean, less transparent pigments. They made some as gouache. They probably did add opacifiers deliberately. They didn't always, like, they've gotten quite popular and now they're available worldwide, but they've been, you know, a little Canadian paint maker for some time. I do really like the little turtles. I don't know where I would use the little turtles. It's a little bit of a, that's a little bit of a question. But I kind of wanted to get, yes, like one of the little golden turtles. They do have turtles in stock right now. I feel like I used to like the turtles better. Maybe they changed. I don't know. Many questions. Yeah, I mean, like, the turtles are just, I mean, they've got a few colors now, but they're mostly just, like, gold, so... Amber! Amber! What's up, Amber? Oh, whoa! Yes, mass production, the quality declined, someone still shapes them. Oh, yeah, no, they're still handmade. I think they used to be, like, a little bit smaller, and the color was a little bit more domed on it, so it looked more like a turtle, or at least that's my memory of it. Yeah, they were more detailed, and they just seemed more turtle-like than they currently are. Oh my goodness, Ember. I'm gonna eat you.
You need me to put the dog out?
Yes, please.
Okay. Hey, where is it?
Yeah, so I'm looking through their website now. So they have a sample sheet that's out of stock right now that is actually a lot. Okay, so maybe what I need to do is actually get some of their paints, or at least one of their sample sheets that they're selling directly through their website, because I think I'm looking at their website now and I feel like I like them a lot better than I feared I would like them before, which is it used to be very clearly their paints were all quite opaque, like they used opacifiers. Like they were really just gouache, and they also seemed rather crumbly. And I have one of their paint like sample cards that is still very much like at least half of the colors are still that way. They have something called their children's palette. They are made with the same dedication to light, fastness, and quality that are identical to our other paints for fine artists. Okay. Alright, well, they say they don't have any opacifiers, they don't have anything. I don't know why, but these paints certainly look pretty opaque to me. But their broader line does seem to have some much less opaque paints, so that's that. So it's possible that these things are... I've been very shy about them because I look at these, I look at a lot of these palettes and I'm like, there's a lot of opaque stuff, and it's just a lot of, they're kind of expensive and kind of, I appreciate that they are not, that they're plastic free, but then they end up being a lot of wood or a lot of wrapping. They don't have the fabric travel. I was kind of like, I always like, that was another thing that I wanted to love. I feel like my feeling about beam paints, and I've been like hesitant to confirm it, I guess, because I want to love them. My first impression of beam paints has been that the quality I see in terms of like the colors, the pigment choices, the whatever, is not reflected in the price. And that as much as I love these little wooden palettes, they don't actually seem the most practical. Which is, don't really, yes. When we reuse the plastic pans for decades and decades, they're not trash either. When we that's the thing, right? Like, I understand that it's wasteful to be buying any kind of paints over and over and over and over and over again, like hoarding paints. But the truth is, like, this is not wasteful because, this one's kind of new, but I have palettes that I've had for over a decade, so I've only thrown pans away that had failed paint batches in. I think I've thrown one or two pans out over the years where they just, like, they got contaminated with something, they've still got paint in them, I'm not going to deal with it, it's garbage. But like the amount of plastic, yeah. And yes, like most paint pans, like yeah, the amount of plastic I actually use. I really do like the antique style, like the old porcelain pans. If I could get those, you know, a couple of pallets worth of the antique porcelain full pans, I would absolutely do that. But they've not presented themselves to me in a affordable way. Yes, exactly. But like, I mean, I feel that way about a lot of watercolor type stuff, is that the, the amount of waste or, you know, environmental damage or whatever that comes from my watercolor practice in whatever form is so low compared to just the like the background wastefulness and environmental impact of being a human, that it's like barely even worth discussing or worrying about. I mean, I feel this way about a lot of things, to be honest. I'm also a big gardener, and I like planting native plants, and you get into native plant groups, and oh my goodness, like, the native plant people would make you believe that, you know, if you plant a cultivar of a native plant, or you choose a plant that where the natural range ends like 200 kilometers away from you, that you are single-handedly destroying the planet and leading to the collapse of insect populations, and that if the zombie apocalypse comes, it's because of you. What actually is in gouache? Great question. The difference, depending on the brand, can be anything from it has titanium white or chalk in it to no difference. Yeah. I have found recently, so a few years ago I got a bunch of gouache to try to train myself to work in an opaque way, like not just like painting opaque, but I feel like there's a there's a fundamental difference in how you see the world if you are, depending on how you're approaching, like, shaping your colors, I guess. And so I got some gouache, and these days when I want to work in gouache, I just work in regular watercolor and add some white. And frankly, I think that works better for me. So you have M. Graham gouache, or you have M. Graham watercolor, or both? So I haven't tried M. Graham gouache. I maybe have one M. Graham gouache. Okay, all your gouache is M. Graham. Good night. No, 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 not that, not that, not that. Yeah, comparison Schminke Horadam watercolors to gouache. Okay, perfect. Yeah, you can do that. Anyway, I've found that because I have so many watercolors, and because gouache doesn't really want to stay, like it tends to crumble out of a palette. I think, again, because, yeah, it has either opacifiers or just coarser pigments or something. I found, honestly, yeah, so you can add opacity by adding white, and if you add enough of it, then you end up basically just making gouache. So it's really more about how you work with it than like any actual difference of the paint. I can get airbrush-like subtle blends that you like. Oh, well, that's cool. I have really struggled with getting any kind of blends in gouache at all. I'm not very experienced with gouache. I find it a bit hard to work with, but I've recently had a couple of cases of stuff that I started in watercolors. It's like, you know what? It's not going where I want it to go in transparent layers, but I am not ready to give up on this piece. So then I switched to gouache, and I feel like I'm slowly getting the hang of that. Because it really needs to be damp and not as wet. That is probably part of my issue, is that I tend to just default to whatever I'm used to in watercolor. Still very much getting the hang of it. I guess similarly to working with this board stuff, it's like, it has potential. I feel like I'm still just kind of I haven't quite figured out where I'm going to use this potential, because I am still figuring out how to use it at all. Yes, I find I get sort of like brush edges on gouache where like, yeah, like it's a pour and it gets that like drying line where it's more transparent in the middle than the outside. That, you know, isn't always what I want. Okay, I think I should probably go move along, get some food into me. I may be back on like late tonight, so it'll be like early morning in Europe. Otherwise, yeah, I'll see you sometime. Bye-bye.